Hi guys! Oh my god. So, welcome. Same bat time, same bat channel. Y'all already know what it's giving. Unhinged. Omarosa live read. And now, people have asked me, first off, y'all are killing it with sharing the video. Like, bitch, I'm gagging because I didn't expect this at all. Like, this is some shit, like I said, it's just shit that I like to do. First off, rest in peace to Aretha Franklin, bitch. The first thing I went to do is watch Got to Be Real because I miss those. I really do. So rest in peace, Aretha Franklin. But I've had some people ask me, they're like, what made you read Omarosa book? Like, she's not for black people, all of this. That's besides the point. Okay? I'm reading this book because, I feel like if you can bring people together over someone who has been such a divisive figure amongst not only people who voters, but also black people, then you can bring them together on some shit. Imagine if we all agree on some shit. I'm very much I said what I said type of bitch. If you don't enjoy the fucking book, you don't have to buy it. I'm not telling you to buy it. I just like the motherfucking book. With that being said, we're going to get to the point. Tonight, we are going to cover the campaign trail. So, I thought this shit was hilarious. Hi, guys. I thought it was hilarious. Okay, this campaign trail, you know how in the movies, they show like the montages of like several weeks or months at a time and like mash it into like 5 minutes. This is kind of what this chapter is for me. It's a juicy read, bitch. It's a gaggle, bitch. So without further ado, night 3. So we start off here, just to put it in context, in July 27th, once, the Republican National Convention is happening, all of this shit is going on. So, the Ojays, bitch. The Ojays sent a cease and desist letter to Congressman John Micah, a Republican from Florida, and copied Paul Manafort via their attorney. Paul Manafort was the campaign manager at this time before we got Skeletor, a.k.a. Kellyanne Conway. He was doing the shit. You know where he ended up at, what's going on with him now. But this is the campaign manager, okay? Demanding that the campaign stop using their 1972 hit Love Train, which they changed to Trump Train. Or 1973's For the Love of Money, which had been the Apprentice theme song for 14 seasons at any Trump or Republican rally event. The Ojays, Walter Williams, and Eddie Levert said in a press statement, "We don't appreciate having our music associated with a campaign that is hurtful to so many with whom we have common ground. Our music, and especially Love Train, is about bringing people together, not building walls." The Ojays was like, bitch, cut the mic. Ain't no refunds. Stop playing my shit, bitch. Go on iTunes for that motherfucker. Oh, my God. So, this was on July 27th, okay? The Ojays like, bitch, beat it, okay? Oh, the painting behind my wall, that's David Bowie. Legend. August 4th. The first Women for Trump event was held in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Trump National Golf Clubhouse. The concept for the event was the brainchild of Laura Trump. Now, mind you, if you watch the news today, Laura Trump is Eric Trump's wife, I believe. This is the bitch who claims she didn't bribe Omarosa after the campaign, and then Omarosa put the tape out today. This is who this is. She organized the Women for Trump shit. Laura, Lynn, Katrina, and I went down south to meet and greet Republican women and persuade them to vote for Trump. The event was so well planned and attended. Laura ran with the template, which quickly evolved into a women's empowerment tour, which at time had all of us on a tricked out tour bus. Bitch, was y'all Destiny's Child? Like, bitch, just give exhibit in Vogue, bitch. Like the fucking tour. No. With a huge rat image of Donald Trump's face on the side, driving from place to place. Often, I'd attend a women's event in the morning and piggyback it with an African-American event in the evening. The Women for Trump tour was well-funded, unlike my outreach agenda, which received nothing for events. So, bitch, he was funding the Trump for Women shit, but he wasn't funding the black people outreach shit. So, bitch, Omarosa, girl. That event was also set a precedent for future appearances as Women for Trump. Whether we did a fancy reception like in Charlotte or at an arena rally in the Rust Belt, Laura insisted that we wear dresses and heels. Many of us would have preferred campaign t-shirts and jeans, but Laura always reinforced that Trump men required Trump women to look and dress a certain way. And because we were on the Women for Trump tour, we weren't allowed to wear standard campaign t-shirts. Later on, the unofficial dress code of the Trump White House of Women Dress Like Women set off some controversy. Hope Hicks pushed her fashion choices as far as possible, wearing mini skirts with thigh-high boots or diaphanous summer dresses in the dead of winter, the opposite of traditional Washington conservative style. She do not like this Hope Hicks bitch. I tell you, Hope Hicks, this bitch get it at every turn. So basically, she said Hope Hicks dressed like a hoe on the Trump Destiny's Child campaign tour for women. We pushed back and eventually designed pink Women for Trump jackets and t-shirts as a kind of uniform for the rallies, and Laura reluctantly approved them in the last 2 weeks of the campaign, but only if we wore short skirts and heels with the jacket or skinny jeans or slacks. If you look at photos of those appearances, we look like we're about to go to a cocktail party, not a campaign rally. August 14th. Paul Manafort had proven to be a liability ever since the convention. Reporters started asking questions about his foreign clients and why the official RNC platform has suddenly softened its stance on arms dealing amongst the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. Now, we already know what's going on with Paul Manafort ass. So this is August 14th, okay, 2016, during the campaign. They already like, bitch, something wrong. The New York Times revealed that Manafort's name appeared in a black ledger of the Ukrainian president. Basically, that's kind of like a ledger, I believe, of like people that you paying, but bitch, we not gonna make it public that we paying, like some, like keeping a record in case shit fail, but it's not on record. Manafort had apparently received payments of $12.7 million over 5 years. The link between the pro-Russian Ukrainian language and the RNC platform and this new information was too much for anyone to stand. Combined with Donald's fascination with Vladimir Putin, Manafort's connections threw a new dirty light on the campaign. He had to go. So at that point, they already knew, bitch, it's hot right now. Paul, you gotta get up out of here. So they fired his ass. August 17th, 3 days later, Steve Bannon and his crypto ass was hired as campaign chief. I found this new addition to the team alarming. Once again, bitch, you getting all these alarms and you still there. Steve Bannon, the chairman of the Breitbart News website, was widely considered to be a sexist and racist. You think? August 19th, Manafort was fired. So, bitch, roughly 5 days after that August 14th incident, you're out of here, Manafort. And I was relieved. Amid sliding poll numbers and rumors about his shady business connections to pro-Russian political leaders in Ukraine, Manafort is currently in jail while he awaits trial. That bitch love to put salt in the wound, don't she? What disturbed me the most about the Manafort situation was the lack of vetting. Vetting, you guys are smart people, but if you don't know, vetting is where they basically do a background check on who they're going to bring into a campaign or public office and things like that, like your running mate, things like that. That's vetting. This was a major party presidential campaign, and it seemed like no one was being sufficiently legally checked out before being put in leadership roles. This would come back to bite us again and again. Kellyanne Conway was promoted to campaign manager. She was my third campaign manager. First it was Corey Lewandowski, then Paul Manafort, and then that's when they brought Kellyanne Conway on. In less than a year, okay? I've managed to weather every storm so far and hope that the turnover rate would slow down. At a rally in Diamondale, Michigan, Trump asked black voters, "What do you have to lose?" Remember when he said that dumbass shit? And voted for him. I then put out a statement that said, the Democrats continue to take the African American community for granted. It is disconcerting that they would rather pander than formulate substantive policy plans that would actually improve conditions as opposed to continue down the current path of the last 8 years. I agree with that, and then I don't agree with that. I'm not going to lie to you, as a person of color, anytime, another person of color throws shade at Barack, I feel some kind of way. I'm just a human being. Sorry. September 3rd. In conjunction with NDC, which was Omarosa's, National Diversity Coalition shit, and Pastor Daryl Scott, we organized an event at the Great Faith Ministries Church in Detroit where Donald would address the congregation. Ben Carson came along with us. So I want y'all to picture this scene. Once again, for some reason, politicians, white folks in power, think the way to black people's heart is to go to church. That may have worked for grandma now, but bitch, not in 2018. So I want y'all to picture this. Omarosa, Ben Carson, and Donald Trump visiting a black-ass church in Detroit where shit is fucked up in the game. Keep that visual. Keep that visual. Right off the bat, there was some trouble with Pastor Wayne T. Jackson. Because of the vocal protesters outside, he was waffling about letting Trump speak from the pulpit. Donald snapped at me. "Why did I come here if I'm not going to speak? You have to fix this." So, bitch, first off, Donald got balls. Now, y'all remember this. This was, it was September 3rd, so I remember this. This was all over the news and shit. Where he went to the black church, and we all saw through that shit. We all knew what it was. This was a bad fucking, this was publicity. The pastor and I had a heated exchange. Donald walked up and watched me handle it. It was a bit odd to be arguing about him with him just looming there. So Omarosa's, as a black woman, arguing with a black pastor in a black church about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is watching her do this. I have a problem with that. Like, really? Like, yo. So anyway, the pastor agreed that he could speak, and then I escorted him into the sanctuary. I had a lot of organizational things to do, so I got enough to take care of them. He grabbed me by my wrist and said, "You can't leave me with these people." The look in his eyes was like a lost child. I stayed with him, sitting to his left for the whole service. "Come through, Mammy." The praise dancers came out before the sermon, and Donald said, "Wow, there's entertainment before church? I had no idea." So clearly, you not knowing how a Baptist church or a black church runs, I understand that. I don't know how a Jewish service runs. I don't know how a Catholic service runs, so I get that. But We'd only gotten through the devotional part of what would be a 2-hour service when he leaned toward me and said, "This is the longest I've been in church in my life." A bit later, "When is this going to end?" And again, "God, how much longer do I have to sit here?" Now, you're trying to get the black vote in a black church, and you asking a black woman all these questions about why the service so damn long. When he finally got to address the congregation, I hoped he'd speak from the heart, but he pulled out a piece of paper and read some bland, stump speech remarks. Now, here's the gagger. Now, Donald Trump is known for going off the cuff and saying crazy-ass shit out his mouth. But somehow, some way, he had enough sense to read from the script when he in the black church with all these motherfucking niggas. He not crazy and he not stupid. He know exactly what the hell he be doing. And this shit is crazy, Omarosa. Really? I'd push Pastor Jackson so he could just say, "I want to help you build and rebuild Detroit. I fully understand that the African American community has suffered from discrimination and there are many wrongs that should be made right. This community didn't need reminding that their lives were hard. No shade. The singing and dancing at the end might have been a relief, but he was still at odds. What do I do now?" he asked. I said, "Just go with the flow." He started swaying. He started swaying creepily, and I wanted to tell him, "Okay, stop going with the flow." As we were leaving, the pastor loaded up Donald with a Bible and some accessories. Remember, that's when he gave Donald that cloth and shit, and we was like, "Bitch, what the hell is going on?" He placed a prayer shawl around his shoulders. Donald thanked him, but as soon as he got away, he said, "Take this thing off of me." Yo, I'm glad we got pause. Like, I'm glad she there to get the tea, because you always need eyes in enemy territory. But, yo, she didn't even check him on this shit, yo. That shit crazy. Like, crazy, yo. Ever the germaphobe, he was horrified to wear a shawl that might have been on anyone else's shoulders. He picked up an African-American baby, and the baby started screaming. I wanted to scream too. Outside the church, protesters chanted, what do we have to lose? Everything." For all attention with the pastor, he did well for himself in the end. In exchange for letting Donald speak that day, Trump let Pastor Jackson give a prayer at the inauguration. So, in exchange for you selling out your church, selling out your people, and causing a big disturbance for somebody who didn't give a shit about you, still don't give a shit about you, you did all of that to say a prayer at an inauguration that nobody attended, nobody watched. September 7th. Matt Lauer moderated a forum with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum in New York. And Donald praised Vladimir Putin as a strong leader, far more than our president has been. We cautioned him against pro-Putin rhetoric, saying he's not somebody that you want to align yourself with. He didn't understand why. Bitch, he understood why. He was playing dumb. It became immediately apparent that Trump lacked basic comprehension about the very complicated relationship between the United States, the former Soviet Union, and modern Russia. History didn't seem to matter to him. Donald was not a student of history. He wasn't a student of anything but what he was doing and has done. He never been a big reader either, and I'd be shocked if he ever read a book about the Cold War. I just don't think that he had the attention span to even watch a documentary about Russia. He was fixated on Vladimir Putin as a feared, respected, and admired leader. I believe he was envious of the control that Putin exerts over his people. Trump went with his gut. And his gut told him, I like Putin, and I want him to be my friend. Nothing else mattered. September 11th. The Women of Trump tour was in Cleveland, and I'd been to a service at Daryl Scott's church that morning. After Laura was invited to give remarks, that's Eric's wife, our group was heading to cars, and Laura said, guys, look at this. All our phones had multiple messages. We stopped on the landing in a back stairwell to watch the video of Hillary Clinton fainting as she walked to the SUV after a memorial service at Ground Zero in New York. Remember when Hillary fainted, bitch? That was like newsworthy. Laura and the others said things like, she's sick. She's not going to make it to election night. She's sick. They were gleeful that Clinton appeared to be gravely ill. Many people in Trump world believed that she was concealing a serious neurological medical condition. Parkinson's was mentioned often. They thought that her untreated pneumonia might have been the cause of her collapse. But if you truly had pneumonia, why would you go visit your infant granddaughter? Many suspected there was an underlying condition as well. September 15th. At the 46th Annual Congressional Black Caucus Legislative Conference in D.C., I had a brief run-in with Hillary Clinton. Damn, this bitch stay running into Hillary. My friend Darren Peters from my White House days was advancing her. When she approached, he grabbed my phone and snapped the picture. She gave me a lukewarm smile and said, Donald, really? Now imagine Hillary in that same tweed Chanel pantsuit that she wore to every fucking stop. Throwing shade. September 16th. Trump held a press conference at DC's Trump International, his new hotel, to make a major announcement about veterans. He spent the while showing off the hotel and bringing out decorated veterans. Then said, Hillary Clinton in her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it. You know what I mean? President Barack Obama was born in the United States. Period. Now we all want to get back to making America strong and great again. Along with promoting his hotel, he needed to preempt anything Clinton might say about his birther blather at the upcoming debate. He wanted to put it to bed, a phrase he often used to mean take care of it. September 19th. Don Jr. likened Syrian refugees to a bowl of Skittles, reigniting the outcry that the entire family was racist, hated Muslims, and equated immigrants and asylum seekers with terrorists. Trump just shook his head and said, look at what he did now. He screwed up again. What a fuck up. So, we're going to pause there. The reason why he said that, according to Omarosa, Donald Trump is really hard on Don Jr. and very abusive in his language and shit. So, like anything Don Jr. does, he goes off. September 22nd. I filmed an episode of Say Yes to the Dress, a TLC network reality show. I took some flack for doing that too, but it was only a 2-hour shoot, and it was one of my favorite shows. Okay, the bitch was trying to address this. Next, September 26th. Lester Holt. Now, we all know Lester Holt. Lester Holt being on the news, the black guy with the glasses, with like the salt and pepper hair. Nice man. Moderated the first presidential debate at Hofstra University in Hempstead. So this is the first debate. We get into the juicy part there. In their preparations with Donald, the campaign staff tried to convince Trump to be more presidential and coached him to shift his tone away from that of the primaries, the interruptions and use of monikers for his opponents. But Trump had his own ideas about being spontaneous and Trump-like, which in hindsight worked for him. Right out of the gate, he seemed agitated. Hillary was expertly prepared and he seemed nervous. She hit him hard by saying, I think Donald just criticized me for preparing for this debate. Yes, I did. And you know what else I prepared for? I prepared to be the president. And I think that's a good thing. That was a good comeback, bitch, but did it really work? During the segment on jobs that should have been a home run, he kept sniffing loudly and weirdly. He reverted to interrupting and saying wrong. the very things he had been urged not to do. For me, it was unusual to see him succumb to the pressure. I was not used to seeing Donald fumble. He was not himself. Something was off. Now, I remember watching this debate because he was sniffing his ass off. He had to have done like 20 lines before that debate started. Everything about that screamed cocaine is a powerful drug. No shade. He was unprepared with basic information on the issues. He showed his age by mocking her campaign website. He didn't seem to understand what a website was used for. After the debate, members of the Trump team, including Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that bitch, communications advisor Ashley Bell, Bruce Lavelle, Republican correspondent Scotty Nell Hughes, and I had huddled in the war room with Jason Miller, the communications director, and his deputy Brian Lanza for a rapid response briefing about what we were going to say in the spin room for the upcoming news cycle. So they was basically trying to figure out how they was going to explain that the president is not a cokehead. First order of business, the weird sniffing. It was listen to how they spin this shit. They do this shit, y'all. You got to really trust your gut and read between the lines when you be watching these news programs and shit. It was decided that the debate room's high-impact air conditioning had caused post-nasal drip. Second order of business, race. Hillary brought up Trump's long record of engaging in racist behavior, including a 1973 Department of Justice lawsuit accusing him of not renting apartments to black people in the building he owned. I remember that. His defense included praising himself highly for letting black people into his Palm Beach Country Club, and I quote, "in probably the wealthiest community there is in the world." I cringed. Trump continued. Bitch, you done cringed like 50 times since we've been reading this book. You keep cringing, but you keep staying. And I'm so glad I did it. And I have been credited for what I did. And I'm very, very proud of it. He also extolled the success of stop and frisk policing in New York, which Hillary knew was untrue. It was difficult to watch. It was my job to prepare him to respond to the media on his racially insensitive remarks. I pushed the campaign to prepare Trump with counterpunches about Clinton-era racist policies and rhetoric. She had called young black men super predators in 1996. That's a fact. No shade. One thing about this book, as much as I thought I was going to read this book and think it was going to be a Donald Trump bash fest, this bitch is an equal opportunity bus thrower. Like, honestly, like, she needs to open her own department store because she is the queen of receipts in this motherfucker. No shade. The Clinton crime bill in 1994 had resulted in the mass incarceration of low-level offenders. The vast majority of them young black men. I had the facts and figures. The person I spoke to on the debate team said he can't retain that much information. We have to simplify it, put it in basic terms. So here is a black woman giving you ammunition on how to counteract Hillary Clinton and her assumption that she's going to get the black vote. She's giving you the ammunition. This shit should have been brought up in a debate. Omarosa brings the shit to him, and they tell her ass he not smart enough to use that. I said, well, I can make simple talking points for him, but we've got to counterpunch. She's kicking his butt on race issues. He never bothered to get up to speak on any of it. You know why he didn't speak on it? Because he liked that crime bill. He liked the fact that most of us, our young black men, were getting locked the fuck up. So he didn't have a problem with Hillary calling black men super predators in 1996. He didn't have a problem. That's why he didn't speak on it, because quiet as cat, he actually agreed with her ass on that shit. That's why he didn't speak about it, Omarosa. But you done. One more thing about that first debate. The woman problem came up again. And Hillary mocked Trump's love of hanging around beauty contests and how he called Miss Universe 1996 Alicia Machado Miss Housekeeping because she's Latina and Miss Piggy because he thought she was fat. While she was delivering this takedown, Trump interrupted her, which only reinforced her point that Trump was disrespectful and dismissive of women. This is why sometimes, you know, the saying goes, it's not the message, it's the messenger. And with all of this, as we read this in hindsight and live in the time that we're living in, with all of these facts, the reality that we have to face is that Hillary was just the wrong bitch to be running against Trump. At that point, it was too much of a liability. She was too damaged. She was too rehearsed, too cold. Like any other person, somebody with some real swag, with all of this information, could have killed him. Nobody cared. When McDonald began attacking Machado on Twitter, calling her disgusting and my worst Miss You, in addition to saying he had a sex tape and questioning her citizenship, I groaned. You keep groaning, you keep being caught on edge, bitch, and you keep staying. But nevertheless, October 7th, Donald Trump told CNN the Central Park Five admitted that they were guilty. Now, if you're familiar with the Central Park Five case, it's a terrible case. These were young kids. The police manipulated the hell out of the situation, coaxed fake confessions out of it. It was a damn mess. Google the Central Park Five. It'll make you cry. It'll terrify your ass if you're a black man. But check up on that. The police during the original investigation say they were guilty. The fact that the case was settled with so much evidence against them is outrageous, and the woman so badly injured will never be the same. The young men, 4 black and one of Hispanic descent, who were arrested and convicted for the vicious 1989 crime, spent between 6 and 13 years in prison. Years later, when another man confessed to the crime, DNA evidence proved their innocence. They were exonerated in 2014 and were paid a $40 million settlement from New York for their wrongful conviction. Hope Hicks and I emailed about talking points. I wrote, even though it's old news, this story, his response has legs. I'm concerned it will be brought up in a debate and in any press that he does, and attack ads in battleground states. A battleground state is basically a state that is kind of not on anybody's side. It's the side, or basically you have to fight for votes in that particular state. So a lot of times in battleground states, you'll see a lot of ads. If you live in a battleground state, you'll see a lot of ads from both candidates. It's like you see mostly attack ads in battleground states. This was going to hurt us badly with African American voters, you don't think? It was just like his birther claims that stretched out for years. I spoke with him about it myself. I prepared a briefing about the case. I asked him to look at the available information and to come to terms with the fact that they were indeed innocent. He rambled, rehashing his misinformation and refusing to look at anything new about the psychology of innocent people confessing under duress. For him, it was black and white. They confessed, so they were guilty. His mind was like a brick wall. He refused to take back his words or admit he was wrong. I told him that his stubbornness and ignorant position were irrational and hurting us, but he refused to budge, which put me on the front lines on the issue. I was constantly in fight mode, fighting to correct him on these crucial issues. This is the big one, I thought. This is as bad as it's going to get. Boy, was I wrong. So, 4 p.m. Oh, you guys, you're welcome about the reading sessions. I want us to just be able to be excited going into this election season. I don't work for any type of election person. I don't work for the publisher. But I feel like we need to talk to each other and really understand, because this is why we have the president we have now. So 4 p.m. that day, The Washington Post put up a video on its website that has become known as the Access Hollywood tape. So this same day after the Central Park 5 shit, this one that Access Hollywood tape, bro. Now this is the tape where he talking about women love for him to grab him by the pussy, and Billy Bush got fired for laughing. He got fired for laughing. He ain't even say shit. He just got fired for laughing. I was at the airport on my way home to LA when the news broke. The text chain with the Women for Trump group was full of swear words, anguish, and disbelief. Watching that footage was the most shocking moment of my life with Donald Trump. I can only describe it as a punch in the stomach. I knew all those people on the bus. Billy Bush, Jim Dowd, Keith Schiller. I heard Trump speak crassly before on The Apprentice. I heard him talk about women as objects of beauty before. But I never heard anything like that. It struck me the same way it struck everyone else. The man is bragging about a sexual assault. But because of my blind spot or my history with him, or just because I couldn't emotionally allow myself to believe it, I tried to rationalize it thinking, it's offensive, but he says offensive things. It's normal for him. We wouldn't assault a woman. He wouldn't assault a woman. He loves women. He's just trying to impress the guys on the bus. If you allow people to say things or do things, they're going to keep doing it. What you say and how you think becomes action. If a person keeps saying they're a certain way, if I keep saying, I'm going to go to McDonald's, I'm going to go to McDonald's, I'm going to go to McDonald's, eventually, bitch, I'm going to go to McDonald's. 5:30, an hour and a half later that same day, Hillary's campaign tweeted, "This is horrific. We cannot allow this man to become president." She was roundly mocked on social media. One person commented, "Your husband got a blowjob from an intern and used a cigar as a dildo, and this is horrific." No shade, bitch. It's no shade. That's where Hillary also was fucked up, because by you can't really have that argument. That's why we was dealing with a damn dummy on the Democratic side, because you bashed the women that came forward. Now all of a sudden, on your husband, now all of a sudden it's horrific. Donald, that we know at that point, didn't have any physical tapes of him actually assaulted. Like, bitch, come on. Like, Hillary, what the fuck is you drinking, bitch? Throughout the afternoon, I was receiving texts from the campaign. Laura was giving us updates on the back and forth behind the scenes. Apparently, Republican National Chairman Reince Priebus wanted Trump to bow out of the race, but Steve Bannon would not hear of it. Laura was fielding panic texts from all of us, but she said, "I know this is bad, but we have a plan." So Reince Priebus, who was the former chief of staff, I believe he was the predecessor to John Kelly, who actually fired Omarosa. We got a plan. He talking about, "Donald, you need to quit, bitch." He like, it's over. So even they're thinking it's over for you. 11 o'clock that night. When in crisis, the unofficial Trump family strategy was to go dark for 24 hours. But this time, Trump released a video statement after only 7 hours. The famous locker room talk, sorry not sorry apology. The strategy was conceived by Steve Bannon, Jared Kushner, and Kellyanne Conway. So Kellyanne, Steve Bannon, okay, so basically Skeletor, Darth Vader, and fucking whoever he want to be, Lex Luthor. So Lex Luthor, Skeletor, and Darth Vader came up with this damn plan for him to go off and explain this shit. This was the big plan. People wanted him to express shame, but he refused to do that. He simply couldn't admit that he'd done anything wrong, and he had no sympathy for anyone he'd offended. Because he had no empathy for anyone, period. Donald Trump's single greatest character flaw as a leader and a human being is his complete and total lack of empathy. Not long after the video was released, Melania told Anderson Cooper, in what was for me an excruciating video to watch, that she accepted her husband's apology. I could not help but think about Hillary Clinton when all this was happening. Melania, like Hillary, had an unfaithful husband exposed in a very public space. Melania carried it differently, though. like a woman who was fully aware of who her husband was and what she'd gotten into by marrying him. So basically, Melania is like a drug dealer girlfriend. She like, I know he be cheating on me, but fuck it, bitch. I'm in this Versace and Dior. It is what it is. As long as he don't bring me nothing back home, I'm Gucci. That's basically what Melania said, okay? October 8th. In the morning, I went to the church of my friend, the head of the St. Louis NAACP, because I needed Jesus. Now, if you read the book, Omarosa is a very religious person, surprisingly. Like, I mean, I'd say surprisingly. Like, she's in politics and shit, but you can't question nobody's faith. If somebody's deeply rooted in faith, you can't judge a person's relationship with God. That's my personal opinion. So that's not for me to judge on her, and I'm not going to do that. I went to church with my friend because I needed Jesus. We all did at that point. At 2:44, Bill Pruitt, a producer from the early Apprentice seasons, tweeted, as a producer on seasons 1 and 2 of The Apprentice, I assure you, when it comes to the Trump tapes, they are far worse. Just the beginning. So that was basically them talking about the N-word tape that Omarosa done made hot now. 7 o'clock that same night. This was a day, bitch. Trump had a press conference with Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Wiley, Kathy Shelton, and Paula Jones, all of Bill Clinton's accusers, less than 2 hours before the second presidential debate in St. Louis. So this is basically like 50 Cent calling Rick Ross baby mother. This is kind of like what this is like. Okay. It was classic Trump tactics to discredit and distract. I have no idea if it worked, but it did send the message that he would keep swinging. Clinton's accusers sat in a family box, bitch. They had box seats, along with all the women who have forgiven and stayed loyal to Trump. Melania, Ivanka, Laura, and Vanessa. Me, I hope Melania was okay. In her Anderson Cooper interview, she looked shell-shocked. I don't know how she looked shell-shocked. Melania looked shell-shocked in every fucking photo, interview, and picture you see her. The bitch is Bridget Nielsen in Rocky IV, as far as I'm concerned. Don't ask me to parse the debate. I barely heard a word of it. In the spin room afterwards, I was surrounded by a throng of reporters who wanted to get my reaction of the Access Hollywood tape. The next thing I knew, there's a viral video shot by a reporter of this woman in the bathroom crying, saying that she had hoped to speak to a Trump surrogate about rape culture and Trump's permissive attitude about sexual assault as a survivor, and that the woman she tried to engage, an African American, had been insensitive and insulting to her. She also said that she did not know my name, despite my name appearing on a giant red sign over my head. So basically what had happened, this lady had went off at one of these Trump, like at this same event, and said that Omarosa basically ignored her. I am convinced it was a stage stunt, that she was a plant. Why was she in the spin room screaming, I was raped? And why, if she was so upset, did she then run into the bathroom and tell a reporter that I was mean to her? And why wasn't that reporter in the spin room getting a real story? Trump was about to come out. Didn't she want to ask him about this issue? This did not smell right to anyone. So she got a point. Now, I don't want y'all to think that politicians are above doing shit like this, because they do plants, they do play 30 and all of this shit. So, the student posted on Twitter about the incident, an account that appeared to have been created for this purpose and never used again. She only had 2 followers. So, I don't know if this is true, but what it sounds like to me, the Democrats paid a bitch to go off in the Trump rally. And, like, bitch, at least you can buy followers off of Instagram. Like, y'all could at least bore her, like, 10,000 followers or some shit like that. See, this is why the Democrats lost. Y'all do dumb shit like this. Like, bitch, at least buy the followers so the bitch look credible. The bitch got 2 followers. And y'all wonder why Hillary lost. I unleashed on Twitter about what I thought was an obvious setup. I've been on edge. October 9th. All day I was getting texts and emails from people I knew asking why I hadn't already packed my bags and gotten the hell out of there. Lester McCorn, my classmate from seminary, texted, "Now would be a good time to resign and condemn Trump's behavior. This isn't about your public reputation. This is about a man in a spirit of hostility towards African Americans." So everybody's telling this bitch, get out. But she done already been hit with the teaspoon, so her ass is still sticking around. On social media, people had ideas whom the slur on the Apprentice tapes was referring to. A sample tweet: "Trump probably was calling Omarosa a nigga in those Apprentice tapes. I would not be surprised." No shade. "My mother checked in on me often. I'm worried about you. I want you to make sure you're okay," she said. "She knew that I would do what I needed to do, regardless of anyone else's opinion. I heard them all out, but I made up my own mind." Bullshit. 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 October 11th. On a conference call with Katrina, Lynn, and myself, we discussed all the information we gathered about the tape that Bill Pruitt had referred to. This is the N-word tape. Remember, on our first day of reading, the N-word tape was allegedly the reason why Omarosa got fired, because they thought she got close to getting a copy of it. So this had been lingering for a while. Lynn was familiar with Bill from the Apprentice days, too. Katrina had heard from her sources that the tape of Trump was using the N-word. Someone she knew who knew political strategist Frank Luntz told her that Luntz had heard it. Lynn reported that she asked Trump about it on a plane, specifically whether it was possible that such a tape might exist, and he said no. Then she asked him what he wanted her to do, and he said, "Put it to bed." Katrina Kirsten said he said it. So when he said that, Katrina knew, the Katrina bitch. They all knew that he said. So these are people, like, now you can understand how slavery can happen for centuries, how the Holocaust, how people can follow people. You understand? Like, these bitches knew that he was foul, and they still went along with it. Power, status, and money are powerful drugs, and if you have enough of it, and you have enough conviction to sell people, they will follow you to the end of the earth, even when you did ass wrong. Crazy. In survival mode, I can only ask, oh no, what do we do? Bitch, leave! I was hoping it could not be true, but it probably was. I didn't know what to believe. If he'd have said it during that time, he might have said it about me. The thought was too awful to contemplate. I pushed it aside. I was very good at doing this by this point. This is exhausting. October 14th. We were back in North Carolina where the Women for Trump tour had started. So Destiny Child went back to North Carolina in a bus with Trump's face plastered on the side. We made a stop to give out bottles of water and boxes of food and diapers for hurricane relief. I was there in body and put on a good show, but my spirit was lagging. I stayed with Trump out of loyalty. I had been brought on to the campaign to deal with the ever-growing women problem, and I could not abandon him now. I tell you, the Access Hollywood tape had been spun internally as a dirty trick by the Clinton campaign, a strategic move. Why release the tape now? Why not back in July after the convention? It was just to win the election and humiliate him. October 15th. Saturday Night spoofed Beyonce's Lemonade with the parody video Melania Aid, starring Emily Blunt as Ivanka, Cicely Strong as Melania, Vanessa Bayer as Tiffany, Kate McKinnon as Kellyanne, and Sasha Zamata as yours truly, Trump's one black friend. It showed a scene where my character walks in and tenders her resignation by slamming down a paper that reads, "I quit, signed Omarosa." It was frankly hilarious. As a huge Beyonce fan, I laughed and danced while watching the episode live on TV. It was a much-needed and appreciated dose of humor. You kind of get 5 points slithering for being a Beyonce fan, but you still in the shithouse. October 19th. The campaign traveled to Las Vegas for the third debate, moderated by Fox anchor Chris Wallace. The format allowed the candidate to move around the stage. I remember this debate. Now, this debate, I believe, had something like 80 million viewers. It was like Super Bowl numbers. This was the debate where we had watch parties, motherfuckers bought snacks, they had wings from Hip Hop Chicken and Fish. Like, we was tuned in. Cheese trays for all you healthy motherfuckers. It was like we was tuned in. Okay, this is that debate. The format allowed the candidate to move around the stage, and Trump's prep team instructed him to take advantage of the space, to use his large physical presence to dominate it. Oh my God, my nose keep itching. I swear I don't do coke. Don't pay me no mind. As you recall, he took it a little too far by looming directly behind Hillary while she was speaking. I remember that. He hadn't been instructed to be stalkerish, but his efforts to be physically intimidating had that effect. But the point is this. Every last detail of that debate was discussed and decided upon in the war room. I'll come around to seeing the Access Hollywood tape and a possible Apprentice tape as weapon used against us by the opposition. They weren't evidence of Trump's vulgarity and boorishness, as Melania and Ivanka had said in their response to the tape. What they heard did not match the man they knew. Our internal data, tracked by our numbers guru Bad Pascal, showed that Trump was holding steady in battleground states. So, back to those battleground states. Remember how it was certain states that Hillary lost in the election? It was certain states that were like this close. Those became battleground states. They didn't have to be battleground states if the Democrats had a better goddamn candidate. But because Hillary had so many problems, and this is all during the time, she's not addressing this, but this is the time of them DMC emails, her server being hacked, all this shit is going on. But because of that, all of this shit why Donald Trump shouldn't have won, because we got a problematic candidate on the Democrat side, is getting ignored. Or at least brushed under the table. That's the only reason they was able to spin this shit. Okay? Yes, Hillary had on them damn kitten heels. You can see the top of her damn toes in that motherfucker. She might as well had on flats, bitch. Are you getting on an escalator or a goddamn Stairmaster? Because them heels was like this fucking high. I remember that debate. And she had on that damn pad seat again. Now, one young woman I always say hello to was named Laura Hilger. She was the head of research for a firm called Cambridge Analytica. Yup, that Cambridge Analytica. Y'all remember Cambridge Analytica and the fall off from that data and the Facebook shit. It was a damn mess. It's still a mess. The UK firm that harvested Facebook data to influence the election. So Cambridge Analytica is the reason why Facebook was doing all them commercials and sending us them notifications about revisiting the policy, the privacy policy and shit. And then we had to go and some of us had to change our names and shit. It's all because of Cambridge Analytica. In a few days, I caught the Washington Post headline, Donald Trump's chances of winning are approaching zero. I felt sick. Surprise! This is October 27th, okay? FBI Director James Comey announced that they were reopening the investigation into Hillary's emails, as he wrote in his famous letter. In connection with an unrelated case, the FBI has learned of the existence of emails that appear to be pertinent. I agree that the FBI should take appropriate investigative steps designed to allow investigators to review these emails to determine whether they contain classified information, as well as to assess their importance to our investigation. Basically, he was just saying they were looking into some emails but didn't know if they had anything. Later, it was revealed that the potentially questionable communications were between Clinton aide Huma Abedin and her soon-to-be ex-husband, Anthony Weiner. So that was that Anthony Weiner shit. And, you know, I think he the one that was showing his penis and shit. Crazy. So basically, that's why you shouldn't feel sorry for James Comey's ass. Because this motherfucker waits 11 days almost. I think the election day was November 8th. October 27th. 8 or 9 days before the election to drop some shit like this about emails that turned out wasn't even hers. He didn't even know about. But he decided to make a public goddamn statement. I'm glad Trump fired you, dumbass. You should have got fired by the hand that you fed, bitch. You deserve to get fired. Trump world was thrilled with the move, naturally. If the Access Hollywood tape was NBC's attempt to kill us, Comey's letters was like a death blow to Hillary's campaign. See what happened when you try to do your job, bitch? Without that letter, she might have won. And that's a good fucking point. Because that letter, I remember when that letter came out, it was just bad. It was bad. It was not a good look. Okay? Internally, we were delighted and relieved. We weren't popping the champagne, but it felt like a cause for celebration for how to handle it publicly. We huddled and came up with the strategy of resolve. We were told not to gloat. The talker guidelines were to hammer it home, to pivot toward Comey in the emails. No matter what we were talking about, say education or the economy, always shift to the reopen investigation. Little did we know, the FBI was investigating our campaign at that point too. If that news had gotten out during the campaign, it might have neutralized the Clinton situation, but it didn't. So, James Comey, dumbass, was investigating both of them. So both of them was fucked up in crooks. Okay? Both of them. But he only decided to let the public know at that time about Hillary's emails that turned out wasn't even hers. James Comey, you decided you deserve to get fired on Air Force or in your plane, bitch, out on the road. You deserve that. Like, no shade. I'm glad he fired you, dumbass. You deserve that. Okay? I think you got paid for it too. No shade. You deserve that. October 31st. Halloween, bitch. I didn't vote at the polls. I voted on Trump Force One. I filled out my absentee ballot on the plane while we were flying to a campaign rally. I showed Trump that I voted for him. He took the ballot and looked at it for a long time, turning it over and studying it for a while, probably because the bitch can't read. He saw me looking at him, looking at the ballot. He regained his composure. He said, "But it's California, so it won't matter." For those of you who don't know, California is typically, like, I guess, wins Democratic votes. So the electoral votes from California go to Hillary. This is why I don't buy that he's not, his attention span is short and all that bullshit. Because Trump had enough sense to know. He knew this shit the whole time. He had enough sense to understand that Omarosa's vote for him in California was insignificant. Because in California, Hillary was projected to lead that state anyway, by default. So her vote would have counted more if she voted in a state where he was on the fence or he didn't have the votes. Okay? So he knew that. This motherfucker wasn't stupid and he not crazy. He played a good goddamn game. That's what happened. I sent in my ballot anyway. I really wanted to win. Yes, my candidate was deeply flawed. So was Hillary. It had been a long battle and I'd taken 1,000 blows along the way. The only thing that would make it all worthwhile would be to get that victory on election day. With 1 week to go, we pulled out all the stops. Literally, we made up to 8 campaign stops per day. It was a crazy rush to the finish. Although every poll predicted Hillary to win, there was one, a Los Angeles Times USC poll that had Trump slightly ahead. So, this is another way that Hillary fucked up. They was going and visiting people. They was visiting his base. They was visiting the voters. Hillary thought she had it in the bag. It is a known fact that she did not visit a lot of places. Some of the places she only visited once. And she did not make real inroads and real relationships with a lot of the people. This is a fact. Not to mention, to give context, you had the kids that were annoyed by the Bernie emails that came out from the DNC, and they was already over her ass. As long as we had one reason to hope, we could keep going on a relentless path to uncertain victory. And that's our chapter for today. Now, let's unpack this. Okay? Let's unpack this. I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I made $500 off that election. You know how? Because I knew Donald Trump was going to win. I follow politics a lot. I believe in learning politics in a layman's terms kind of way, because a lot of times these newscasters, these motherfuckers, these people, and not to bash the press because I love the press. I would love to be a member of the press one day, but they have a way of talking over people's heads or talking at people and not with them. And that is why a lot of people, especially on the Democratic side, just became disenchanted or just dropped off. The reason why I personally believe Trump was so effective was because he talked to a lot of them ignorant ass people. Not to say everybody that voted for Trump was ignorant, because they not, but a lot of them people that we saw at them rallies and shit, if they had a candidate with common sense, they wouldn't have cared. But he knew how to talk their language. And that was what was missing on the Democratic side in this election. Hillary was almost too smart and too presumptive. She was not the right candidate. But because it was her turn, they gave it to her. Now, I want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all so much for listening to this live. Just so you know, like, just in these 3 days of us reading, I've been contacted by publishers, which is crazy. Like, crazy, guys. Like, some opportunities have been presented to me. Like, it's amazing. But one thing I don't want to do, I'm not a for hire type of bitch. Yes, I'm starting my podcast. I'm in my YouTube channel, Secretary of Shade. If you go on YouTube, Google Secretary of Shade. I'll drop the link in the status or at the end of the feed. I'll do a separate status so you can just join. I'm going to be uploading these readings to the site. They're not there yet, but they will be there. And when we launch the podcast in September, I want you to tune in. Make sure you follow me for the updates on Instagram at GODDM. I'm a rapper for some of you that don't know. I'm actually pretty good at it. But follow me on at GODDM, because I want us as people, especially as black people, I want us to be in formation. I want us to really understand who we're voting for, not only in this presidential election, but in these midterm elections, these primaries, these things like that. We need to be galvanized and understand the power of our vote. I want to shout out black women, because black women are making a big difference in some of these midterm elections and primaries, and I have to salute you guys. It is a team effort, and whatever part I can play in that, I'm more than happy to do it. Yes, we are reading this for entertainment, but in reading this book, even though I followed politics for a while, I feel like I found a reason to do community work and community service. You know, like, I'm an artist at heart, but I don't want to keep living in the world that we're in right now. This type of world is good for art, but it's not good for our children. I don't know if I'll ever have children, but I don't want my children growing up in this kind of world. So if I can do shit in layman's terms and make motherfuckers understand, drop a few bitches in there, some guesses to get you to get it, then by all means, I'm going to do that. But with that being said, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the donations. You know, I wasn't even expecting that in the Cash App, but thank you. But you guys have a great evening. I'm not reading tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday, of course, because I have shows, I have things to do. But if you like, just leave a little emoji or hand if you want me to read a chapter on Monday. We'll get into some real explicit shit on Monday, if you like. That way it'll give you guys time to read the book. We can compare notes and give some insight. But until then, I'll see you guys soon. It's 8:09. We went a little longer today. But I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate y'all watching for this long. I know it's a stretch. Wakanda forever!